All right, what up? We're here. We're back. Despise Gossip Podcast. Here we have both members of the team working to facilitate better conversation. We hope you guys enjoy. We got a lot to talk about, a lot to discuss. We're definitely hyped to get back. I feel like a lot of people have been
back with the Sharpie mics.
I feel like a lot of people have been, saying good things about it and like wanting to hear more. So we're just definitely hyped to like get back and like talk about it because it's just fun for us to like discuss because there's so many times where we just discuss things like between the both of us.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many times that we have meetings that it's just meetings turns into like an hour and a half. Conversation.
Exactly, just about like random things. And about like what's going on. So, like definitely hype. I feel like this is like a fun outlet for y'all too. Like, bro, like, even though you see me on Instagram all the time, like, bro, we are just literally real people. And so, yeah. So first up, want to just preface, brand new drop. Brand new drop hit the website yesterday. This will probably be dropped, today's Monday, it'll probably be dropped on Tuesday, probably tomorrow. So it'll be the final day of the drop. But yeah, a lot of really good items that we just dropped on the website. We have a bunch of military stuff that we're like slowly releasing out. We're hype on that. A bunch of foreign military stuff. So like Germany, Italy, French, a lot of really cool military stuff that's like you don't see every day. So be on the lookout for that. A lot of those items are actually like really, really cool. So be on the lookout for that new drop. But I guess what do you talk about first? Like just what's been going on, business updates.
Kind of like the state of Despise.
Yeah, for sure. We kind of want to take this moment to be like a little transparent and just like, bro, like just chop it up about like what we do and how it's going,
So it's definitely been an interesting one for sure.
Yeah, I mean the last like month has been very, very interesting. Very like a lot more downs and ups.
Yeah,
for sure, to say the least.
For sure. But I think it's just that typical kind of like holiday season of everything is just kind of dead until Black Friday.
Until the holidays.
Black Friday hits, and then all of a sudden it's just a mad dash.
Right,
and the rest of the year.
And I think it's important when you said like we don't have a large enough sample size to be like, okay, well, what have we done in the last couple Octobers? Exactly. Because like the last October was extremely different for us, and the October before that was extremely different because we were in a totally different spot.
Yeah, I mean, if you just think about the growth that we've seen over the past 3 years, year-over-year growth, I mean, it's completely different.
You kind of can't even compare the two.
No.
The numbers that we did, you kind of can't even compare them because
October you were in France, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
bro.
Like,
for months.
October before that, we didn't even have we barely had a website. So like everything.
So you just can't compare them.
No, it's really hard to compare sample sizes just because none of it.
Which is annoying because it kind of leaves us in this spot where it's like, okay, well, what's happening? Like, what is going on?
Right.
Because it's just like, obviously you can put it on a ton of things. You could say, oh, and maybe it's a combination of all these things, but you could be like, oh, economy, right?
Right.
Economy's not great. We're in a recession.
Right.
Everything's so expensive. Rent is like historically the highest it's ever been in America.
At least in terms of like, the average person's income is. So I was making sure it was good.
Oh, okay.
But like the average person's income is proportionally the lowest it's ever been to the average rent price in the U.S.
Like the cost of living is outrageous.
It's insane. Like I've heard different people on like TikTok and Instagram be like, this is what's called the silent depression. And basically, it's like worse economic states than the Great Depression, but nobody's talking about it and everybody's acting like everything is okay.
Yeah.
So it's known as a silent depression. It's really affecting just like 18 to 25-year-olds, to really 30-year-olds, people who don't own a home yet, people who didn't look out and buy a home.
Right.
Interest rates were literally zero, and you can get FHA loans and.
Yeah, I mean, even like with other things too. I mean, sure, like gas isn't super high. Like it's been higher, but I mean, like with the cost of living stuff.
Oh, it's insane. I mean, I'm sure you've seen the meme where it's like every boomer talking about how this generation doesn't work or doesn't work hard, and like you just need to go work and you'll be able to afford a house. It's like when you realize that the house you bought was $20 in 1970.
Yeah, well that brings up another question, bro. That brings up another question. It's like, okay, bro, it's like, yeah, like sure, you can go work. You can go work some random job.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like with where everything is at now, is like what life is that even going to get you? That's not going to get you a comfortable life necessarily.
No, for sure.
I mean, bro, I feel like back in 50 years ago, you could work
You could work
a labor job and like actually live a comfortable life.
A decent hourly wage job.
Right.
in quotations there, but like,
and live a comfortable
life.
life.
You would be fine. Like you could, like, thinking back traditionally, you could work a decent hourly wage job. At least that's the way it seems. A decently hourly wage job as just like, you know, the working half of the household, and you could pay for your family to live. Nowadays, it's like literally both partners in the relationship have to work.
Yeah,
like have to work to be able to make ends meet. It could be the woman, could be the man. Doesn't matter what you call it. Could be both. Whatever floats your boat. But like I feel like it used to be the case that one person could work and the other one didn't have to, but like that's just not the case anymore unless you just have some ridiculous job or you got ridiculously lucky or whatever that looks like.
Yeah, it's really odd. So yeah, you can, I mean, it's definitely been weird for the economy. But I mean, that isn't like anything super new.
It's not new, but I mean, our business mentor did say that he has been following a bunch of, you know, he has these economists that he follows that he like trusts that don't have a political agenda, don't have a dog in the fight. That he told us that they basically were saying that there's been this long forecasted recession that just for whatever reason just hasn't hit, like all the recession from COVID stuff. And it seems like
because people have been talking about that since COVID, since they started giving the stimulus checks out.
Exactly. And
saying like it's coming, bro. The recession's coming, all this stuff.
And it seems like it's finally starting to hit now. Is like at least in October is when it finally started to hit. And so it's, you know, been very difficult because I mean we've heard like from him, the company that he runs, he said was not doing very well, and that they were struggling like just sales wise, whatever. It's like. He said it's pretty standard for this time of year for them. Like they have a good sample size just because it is a big company. And then he said he also has friends who are in the e-commerce business like we are. Obviously bigger scale, different businesses, not what we do. But who are also kind of experiencing the same kind of drought that we've been in. Because October and even the beginning of November started technically by the numbers. Started off worse.
Worse technically, October. It's just really interesting, and so you can say, economy, right? People don't have as much money to spend. That makes sense. But then you can also be like, okay, well now it's like Instagram recently switched up, so like obviously a large part of our marketing and like how we get even sales, how we get people to the website is because of Instagram, is because of the ads, is because of our story interactions, is because of like how many people would just view our posts, like kind of like how much bang for our buck we would get. But now Instagram has like done this whole big switch. So it's like we've had to refigure out the algorithm. Like the ads haven't been producing. Your story views have gone down significantly.
We used to do like 4,000 views in 24 hours on the story. Now we barely do 1,000.
Which I mean, it was like that was good. But then again, it's like when you think about it, it's like we have like back when we were doing that, like we had 15,000 followers.
Right.
You know.
Also, like when I first discovered that the story would do that, we had like 8,000.
Yeah.
Like it's been.
For sure. It's
been a whole thing to like refigure out.
Yeah, Instagram has totally switched out, bro.
Get into like Instagram's favorability. I don't know if that's a thing. Like if Instagram has favorite accounts or favorite whatever.
Yeah, I don't know.
It seems like.
I mean, it makes sense.
That is part of it. And it seems like we've had to like completely retool how we do a lot of our marketing, how we do a lot of everything to try to get back into Instagram's favor, which is annoying because all of a sudden we feel, you know, not victim to, but like chained to whatever the Instagram algorithm says.
Right, because we do so much through that. I mean, so it's like, bro, no matter what the Instagram does, we have to kind of like comply with it almost.
Right, and we feel super tied, and it's just like. Also, it also brings up an interesting question of like, obviously, like we are not geniuses. We don't quite know how the algorithm works, but like,
I don't think really anybody
17,000 followers. Like, why does it feel like such a struggle to get 2,000 people to see our videos?
Right. Like that doesn't make no sense, bro.
Like, at least within 24 hours. Like,
at least in 24 hours.
We have videos that do really well. Shout out Maddie Matheson Reel.
Right, that reel did good.
Reel went nuts.
And the algorithm, bro. I mean, that reel's at like almost 40K views.
Right.
Naturally, no ad.
Yeah, no ads, no nothing.
So like, that would be great. I'm not expecting every reel to get 40,000 views, bro.
But at least just like some like.
But it's like we got the 40,000 views and then we got like the ones that just stop at like 2,000. It's like, bro, why did it stop? Like, why isn't the rest of the 15,000 people who follow us see that?
Yeah, that's what's been kind of confusing on our end. Is like, why do we have 17,000 followers if those 17,000 like they followed us for a reason to see our stuff? Like it feels like they aren't just seeing.
Yeah, they aren't. Yeah. So I mean, you could say that. It's just like it's been very weird. We don't know what's going on, but we're just pushing through. It's been like a slower last couple months.
I mean, yeah, it's just been the past like 6 weeks, 7 weeks.
Yeah, like a month and a half.
Yeah, and so I'd like for
Yeah, the
trend that we're on to continue because
right.
if y'all have paid attention at all, I mean, you probably don't, which is fine. Like really, the only people who I would expect to pay attention is just us two.
Right.
It seems like our content has been way better over the past.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all have been seeing it more naturally or not. I've had a couple people tell me like, "Yo, it's on my explore page. It's on my explore page." So
that's great. Love that.
I mean, yeah, that's
great
fire.
For the program.
Yeah, 100%. That's fire. So I don't know if y'all are seeing it more, but it seems like it's been going better. And I don't know if Instagram, like, I don't know. I just don't know what to think about it. All I know is what's happening, and that's it. So, yeah, hopefully we have a lot of cool stuff planned around the holidays.
Stay tuned. Definitely some big Black Friday stuff.
Definitely big Black Friday stuff. We have another really cool little custom drop cooking up. It's in the oven, one could say.
We're shooting. This is probably a little too soon to say this, but we're shooting for a late December post-Christmas release.
Yes.
That would be nuts.
Yep, post-Christmas.
Not even going to tell you what the product is. But
No. Y'all see it soon, though. Y'all will definitely.
Stay tuned and
go little sneak peeks here and there. But yeah, so we're hype on that. It's gonna be shirts. I'll tell you that. It's not gonna be bottoms again. It'll be shirts. It'll be a top. So yeah, look for that. But yeah, I mean that's kind of like the update on us. We've been kind of just like thugging it out through the storm.
Plugging away.
Yeah, just doing what we're doing because like we haven't really switched anything. We've been doing the same thing that we did in the summertime when it was more abundant. But we just been
summer was nuts.
Been chugging, bro. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, speaking of Instagram, bro.
Dude,
Instagram's been popping off. Instagram's been popping off recently, bro.
The comments we've been getting.
Dude, honestly, hey man, on this, we did it again, man. We're low-key pissing off the internet. It's funny.
And also, like, they don't realize that, like, you being mad is going to help our videos.
100%. And that's never really the intention. Our intention is to never, like, actually just intentionally piss people off. Because, like, obviously you hear about TikTok creators being like, oh, yeah, like, my negative content gets more engagement. So then you got TikTok creators that are kind of like that negative, and it's just like, bro. But it does get more engagement, so it's like, bro, like, well, what's happening here? We don't necessarily strive for that. We don't want to, like, piss people off to get more views. Because then it's like, it's getting more views, but, like, are people even going to, like, go to the website and like buy something?
How does this how does that funnel work? Does that even drive people to want to buy stuff?
Right. Yeah. So yeah, we've been pissing the internet off, man. We have been these reels, and I mean, we definitely are to blame. Okay.
This is so funny.
I have been wearing my cowboy hat backwards. My cowboy hat.
Yeah.
I've been wearing my cowboy hat backwards. This is not a secret. Everyone has has made it known on Instagram that I'm wearing my cowboy hat backwards.
It's every single video, bro. You have it in. There's at least 5 to 8 comments. That's not an exaggeration.
That's not an exaggeration, bro. Look, bro, my bad. All right, clearly I'm not a real cowboy. Like, y'all don't have to look at me and like, y'all are not fooled by that, at least for a little bit. Bro. Look what I do, bro. I literally live in Georgia. I'm so close. Like, I'm not a cowboy, clearly.
The real cowboys are definitely out west, not on
bro,
Instagram.
Facts, bro. Like,
not on Instagram.
Working a way cooler job than I do, bro. So
actually wrangling cattle. Yeah,
for sure. So, yeah, that's my fault, y'all. I'll make that switch. Shout out to the people who put it nicely, though. You know what I'm saying? Cowboy look works for you, bro. Just put the hat on right. Your respect, man. Respect. Thank you for leading with a compliment and then delivering
a gentle correction.
It was a gentle correction, bro, and I appreciate that, bro. And then you got people like, then you got people saying, "I choose to believe this fellow wears his hat backwards on purpose to draw attention from those of us who would be bothered by a cowboy hat being worn backwards in order to get traction for his post." While I see the thought about this, and like this is a thought out theory, 100%, and it makes sense, but like that's not the intention. Like I said earlier, we're not trying to piss people off. We're like, we may come in with a hot take. We had this other Instagram video that we did, and it started with me saying, like, it's 2023, like, stop wearing skinny jeans.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's my take. You know what I'm saying? I don't wear tight pants.
Also, that was just popular in, like, in the mid-2010s.
For sure.
Like, that was, like, the style.
Yeah,
like,
and I mean, people do still wear tighter pants, bro. Definitely, there's, like, trends and whatnot. Like, if you want to wear, like, tight pants and then like have a pair of sneakers and like stack them on your sneaker. Like I understand that. And I'm not saying you can't wear skinny pants. I'm just saying, at least for me, like that's just my opinion. And that's all it is. But I mean, like that's supposed to honestly stir conversation. Like I think someone commented being like, or people can just wear what they want. 100%. And definitely voice that opinion. Like, yeah, 100%. Like it's supposed to kind of like provoke those thoughts and those emotions. But the cowboy hat was not meant for that at all. That was just me being a goof, bro, and not wearing it. But I'll make the correction. When I do rather wear it the right way.
Better watch out.
Show me some love in the comments, being like, "Hey, man, he listened."
Yeah. And the whole thing on how the backwards cowboy hat started is such a silly story.
Oh yeah, dude.
It started
I've been confused since day one.
Well, you had it on right at one point, and then according to you,
we had a picture, bro. Okay, look. So you know how we do? We take pictures of me in an outfit saying these items are available. We took a picture. I had a cowboy hat on, and someone was like, "You have it on backwards," and I was like, "Oh, dang, okay."
And it was actually right.
And it was the right way. And I was like, "Oh, okay." So I believed it. I'm like, "Okay, well, sure." So then I've been wearing the right way, and then we did so many videos at once. Yeah. The other way with the wrong way, and then now it's like, okay, bro, like 50 people have told me I have it on backwards, so like those 50 people got to be right. So yeah, that's my bad.
Genuine mistake.
Yeah, bro.
People misleading us.
We'll fix that. We'll fix that. Yeah. Until I can look more like a real cowboy. Yeah, man, that has been, that has been funny. But, what's the next thing we want to talk about? That's kind of with Instagram stuff. We've been trying with TikTok, but dude, I don't even know if any of y'all follow us on TikTok or see our stuff on TikTok.
TikTok is such a weird engine, and it doesn't really make much sense, to be honest. At least it doesn't seem like the way that stuff gets views, the way that it gets in their algorithm makes any sort of sense. Like,
right.
The video that did really well yesterday randomly got 6 times the views that an average video does, was not 6 times better, or like wasn't even like a premier content idea that we had. Like, it just all of a sudden, it just feels like we're just throwing crap at the wall and hoping something sticks.
Yeah, we're just putting.
And I don't really know. Like, even with it sticking,
it doesn't give us any insight on why it did well.
Other
than TikTok randomly just bumped it.
Yeah.
Because that video didn't have any comments on or anything. No interaction.
Barely any likes.
Yeah, very little likes. And that's why I thought you put an ad on it too.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It definitely did not.
TikTok is weird, dude. We post videos. We have like 800 followers, 850 maybe. And we post videos. They all stop at like 350 views.
Every time.
300 to 400 views. They all stop at that. Every time. So, like, I don't know what's going on, bro. TikTok is holding out on us, wanting us to buy ads because we bought ads before a little bit. So are they holding out on us, like wanting to not put our stuff? I mean, we have our TikTok shop up, which I thought that was going to be like game changing, because when we had the Instagram shop up, that was game changing.
It changed everything. It changed the way Instagram pushed our stuff.
Yeah.
Anytime we put product tags on any sort of post, Instagram was like, literally everybody needs to see this.
Right.
Because at least to us, it felt like the thought was, if we sell this item, Instagram is going to make money. They make money. Everybody benefits. So
everyone benefits.
Let's push this post, whether it's a picture, the stories, because the stories all had product
tags on it,
or even like a post, like a reel that had products in the reel. And so yeah, for those of you who don't know, everything that this dude puts on in all the reels is all stuff from the drop. It's all stuff from
we just got a comment saying and honestly, I love all the comments, bro. If you guys something not nice to say, honestly, air it out. Like, bro, so you, like, dude, comment by all means, bro. Like, it's totally fine. But we had just someone commented saying your favorite thing is getting clothes that don't fit properly.
It's gonna be hard to sell products that all fit him.
I know, bro, because it's like, bro, like, 100%. I know what you're saying, and like, these aren't all my clothes. These are just like what we have that we're selling, and some of it's smaller, some of it's bigger. Also, I would say, like, I am pretty lucky that, like, I can fit into smaller stuff, and then I can fit into, like, larger stuff.
Dynamic size, as opposed to somebody like me who's a little bit broader, a little bit wider than you.
Right,
like,
but then again, I
wear small stuff. Small stuff on me looks like a joke.
Yeah. But then again, it's like I can only wear so much. I can only do so much, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to look a little goof, bro. Like, I'm trying to style it to make it not look as big or make it not look as small, like, whatever. But it's just like, like, I can only do so much. So, more like 99% of the stuff that I'm wearing in the reels is all available. You know,
Except for, the one person who wants to buy literally only the stuff that's not on the website. Only the stuff that
only the literally personal stuff that I wear.
So like in a couple videos, he'll have a whole bunch of just like tops and light outerwear stuff on, whether it's like a jacket, whatever, and it'll be unbuttoned or open, and you can see just like a random t-shirt, like he's got on right now,
like a random shirt, bro. Like nothing really too crazy.
And we've had people hit us up and be like
screenshots, but I'll Venmo you for this shirt right now. And it's just like, because people see it on. I mean, and that's the whole appeal, right? If people see it on, then they want it. And that's why I put all these clothes on. But then it's like, bro, it's gone so extreme where it's like people want my little personal clothes.
Yeah. That feels just funny because it's like,
it's funny.
Like, dude, we have a whole website full of like
thousands of items that are like basically the
exact same.
Because like what I wear is what we curate with vintage. Like it's one in one, It's not like I have a certain style and then we sell a certain style of vintage. It all wraps up just naturally. It does that organically.
Which is kind of the beauty behind the curation.
Yeah.
And why it's curated so well is that it's, clothes and styles and stuff
that
you actually wear every day, that you actually want to put on. And
right.
That you know will look good together.
Yeah. So that's funny, bro. But we are going to do a closet sale for Black Friday. We're going to have a little feature of like a closet sale because I got a bunch of stuff that I'm trying to get rid of. Just like how anybody gets after a while, they start building up clothes that they just don't really wear anymore, and then they could sell.
And then obviously,
and clearly people want them. So.
And obviously, with the curated match between your closet,
if it's a perfect
Despise items.
Yeah, if it goes hand in hand, for real. But yeah, so Instagram's been crazy. But yeah, we've been glad you've been liking the podcast though. I mean, it hasn't been anything crazy, but I mean, like,
it's definitely better than what we thought it would.
Better than I thought we would, dude. I thought it'd be like 10 people watch. And like, again, we really did this to be like, get those Instagram reel clips. Because it's just more content we can put on our Instagram, drive people to the site, get more people interested about what we do. So it's like, this is just a way we could just get more Instagram content. But then at the same time, it's like, bro, for the people who actually want to.
Well, also at the same time is, I mean, I don't know any, fashion, small entrepreneur, small business podcasts.
I know of, in terms of fashion, Throwing Fits, they have a podcast. But then again, it's like, for their podcast, you can't even really get all the episodes because they do the Patreon. So if you want all the episodes, then you have to pay for them. And the same thing is actually with BidStitch too, because I know BidStitch does. Drew, he interviews a bunch of different people, puts them on YouTube. I think on Spotify too, probably. But he interviews a ton of people. But then I know some, he puts like half the interview up, and then the other half you have to do the Patreon to pay for it.
Yeah.
So it's like, and like those are just two. I don't even know any else that come to mind. I mean, there could be several people like us doing the same thing, talking about it that I just don't know. That could totally be reality.
On our end, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. So it's not like I don't want to be like, oh, bro, like we the only ones. But it's just like, like I don't know a ton of people. So like.
But I definitely feel like there is a niche that could be filled. Not saying like we're gonna have the number one.
Oh, did Thrift Con do a podcast too?
I have no idea.
Maybe like 1 or 2 episodes.
I don't know, but like it seems like there seems to be kind of like an empty niche of just like not really many people in the vintage fashion sphere that are putting out a podcast that isn't locked behind a Patreon or that anybody that's like the most accessible thing in the world.
Yeah.
And so it feels like, at least for my end, because I've looked for it before, and I didn't even find Throwing Fits or anything like that.
Well, yeah, because that's more just fashion.
Right. And
fashion in general.
Vintage fashion is two pretty different things.
It's two different things. I mean, vintage fashion is definitely big enough to be its own thing. Obviously, it's under the fashion umbrella, but it's like you have vintage fashion like it's its own organism. There's enough people in this community,
right,
to have it to be its own like little subculture thing.
Also, if you think about what your professors have told you, being in fashion design school, with all that, what your professors have told you, being that secondhand and reused fashion and sustainable stuff like that is going to like grow to be like 4 or 5 times the size that it is now.
Yeah, well,
2021, 2020.
Right. Well, now it's interesting, bro, because now with the whole sustainability thing, so it's like when people are designing collections now, like all my peers, like as a senior, you design like a senior collection. That's what you graduate with, so then you have something in your portfolio to like take and like apply to jobs with. And basically, everyone is doing sustainability now. They do it so much now. It's like just naturally integrated in people's projects. But now it's like if you go over the top sustainability, it's like almost cliche at this point.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say.
Because so many people have done it.
It feels kind of like sustainability is going to become like this regular just tag for
100%
sustainable. Look at me, kind of thing.
Exactly.
And like everybody's doing it, and so.
Yeah, right. And it's crazy because so many people are doing it. It is now like if you go over the top and you bake your whole identity just on sustainability, like it's like almost cliche. Like you're not doing. I don't know. They're not doing that much. Like everyone else does that at this point, you know. So like that just kind of like nods to like how important and you know like, just how large like vintage fashion is, secondhand clothing is. And also, bro, it's like dude, if you're designing a collection, you have to have obviously you do your research. You have to have an inspiration. You have to have a start. Like why you even want to design a collection, and the amount of like vintage garment research that you do is crazy. Like you do so much of that, and being there, bro. Yeah, it's like you can go online and surf, you know, endless pictures of stuff, but I find it useful to like go down and look at all the stuff we have because we have some cool stuff. We have some really cool stuff, like especially all the military stuff, dude. If you're a designer and you're designing clothes and you want to like be inspired by like construction details, bro, look at military wear.
Stuff's crazy.
It is unreal,
Literally crazy.
It's so cool, bro, because it's so like the practicality of it, like it's so tactile, like it's so like made to be worn and made to like actually have like functions.
Yeah.
Like all the little things, and there's so many like little details of it, like that are just so cool. It's like half the time you don't even know what this one like little detail is, but it's like if someone does tell you, it's like, oh dang, like that is so cool, bro.
Also, all the weird little pockets and like tactical stuff.
Yeah, bro.
By tactical, I don't mean like military tactics. It's like no, it's like weird pockets in weird places that are really easy to access for your hands.
It's like this pocket right here, and it's how it's like slanted, and how it has a zipper on the side and not really from the top. Like it's all the little things. It's like everything is already thought through. And dude, like that's why like whoever was designing military clothing, bro, geniuses, bro.
Very
super cool. So if that's what like your kind of like thing is, like you like the practicality of stuff, bro. Look at military wear. Look at like old workwear stuff too. But then there's also like you can go look at a bunch of like 70s stuff. Mm-hmm. There's so many bell bottoms that don't even have functional pockets, but like fake pockets. And it's just like, bro, what? It's like they're just focused on literally like the aesthetic and making it look good. Yeah. Like, so like that's what you're into, bro. Like look at that stuff. So like I found it super useful just to go down and just look at the stuff we have and like be inspired by whatever and like seeing that in person. And that's why I think it's also really interesting because now you have so many people who want to build like a vintage archive.
Interesting. I haven't heard of this.
Bro, yeah, like it kind of started with Nigo, like Bathing Ape guy.
Okay.
Been around for a minute, but he obviously kind of like Japanese culture. They love American vintage, bro.
I feel like everything you've told me is that Japanese fashion and culture is obsessed with American vintage workwear, American vintage items, and just like like that.
Well, you know where it came from. Actually, I saw a video. This is actually, I think it was actually like a podcast clip, low key. But I'll reiterate it, bro. But basically, it was like this woman talking about like the start of that, and it was because of this. I don't know the guy's name, but this guy's name. He like wanted to figure out because Japan, everyone in Japan, like all the students and like the working class were wearing like the same thing, and it was like kind of like this black drab thing. And this designer, he wanted to like tour the world to try to find like something else that like he could like a new style. Mm-hmm. And this is around World War II, and I think he was put in prison for something. I don't know. And he basically he talked to a prison guard there. The prison guard went to Princeton University. And they're talking about clothes and whatnot. And this prison guard was telling him, like, about all these good times in college that they had. And so then once he got out of prison, whatever he was there for, he went to Princeton and then saw like the old like 40s and 50s like American Ivy League college wear, the Oxford polos, like the khakis, like the sweaters, like the cardigans, like all that stuff. He saw that and like fell in love with it, and then brought that back. And then that's why you have like all this Japanese, that's like really that Japanese clothing that was like inspired by like American Ivy League and stuff like that. And then that has translated, I think, into like the love for like Americana like workwear, like the Levi's, all that.
Selvedge denim and that feels
it's really interesting.
It feels like an insane story. Like
it's an insane story, bro. It's an insane story.
Fashion movement. I feel like that's the kind of the way things are with most major art movements like that is like it comes from this random story out of this random place that it doesn't really feel like matters all that much, especially at the time of it happening. Because there's no way that this dude in prison is like thinking and plotting and scheming the next fashion movement, that would affect the next, 50, 60 years of Japanese
Yeah, he
fashion.
was trying to like look for something new. Like he was just a designer, bro. Like he was just like a normal Joe, average just guy, like who was just into clothes. Like that's all it was, bro.
He was doing his thing.
So Nigo, again, back to that. So he made this. He loves vintage. He has a ton of crazy vintage pieces, like super old Levi's, a bunch of old like really cool sweatshirts. Like it's super sick. And he just opened his archive, I guess. I don't know where it's at. It might be in Japan. But he just opened this whole vintage archive, and it's full of like crazy pieces. And people, I honestly feel like he charges for people to go in there and look.
Oh, so it's like kind of like a museum setup.
Yeah, and then they had that pop up in LA. Oh, what is it called, bro? Blanking on it. I can't remember what it's called. But it's called what is it called, bro? Anyways, it's like a bunch of vendors, they pop up and they have like obviously their best stuff. But it's like a bunch of designers.
Oh, okay.
And a bunch of people who want to be inspired pull up and they basically are shopping there. Like it's less of like the normal customer. Okay. And it's more so people who are like in the fashion industry looking for really wild pieces to be inspired by and like to get for their archive and like.
Interesting. So it's very.
So they have a whole pop before that. What is it? I can't remember what it's called. If you know what it's called, bro, comment below. Like it's on the tip of my tongue. Like I can't think of it.
It sounds like it's super high end fashion oriented.
I think it is a little more high end fashion oriented.
Which I think that brings up an interesting point. Anyways, I'll let you continue with the archive thing, but I didn't realize people were building it. But I think that high end like there's I don't necessarily think that this has happened yet, but I think that there's going to be a cross between like high end fashion and like vintage fashion. I don't know if this has happened yet. I don't know what that looks like. Kind of like how we saw the streetwear high end fashion kind of crossover, where like
Virgil and Louis and
and I think that it wouldn't surprise me if something like that happened in the future. Just like knowing the way that ideas work and things are created and whatever a little bit. Like I wouldn't surprise me if something like that happened.
Yeah, I mean, and there's people who do that. Like obviously Bodhi. They do a lot of, like, that's a luxury fashion brand, and they use a lot of, like, secondhand textiles, like vintage textiles. So, like, obviously you have that route. There's a lot of people who do that, who take, like, these really nice, very super rare, like, textiles, and then make, like, actually, like, luxury pieces out of them and sell them like that. But, yeah, like, I wonder what else there is, bro. Because I feel like that's, like, the first idea, like, the first iteration of it. When there could be, like, 1,000 more.
I mean,
like what was the first iteration of like luxury streetwear?
Yeah,
I'm sure it wasn't.
No.
What it ended up as, like, the peak was, you could argue, is like Virgil working at Louis Vuitton.
I mean, it probably was, Off-White a whole bunch.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. I don't know the fashion world all that well. I'm more of the business numbers guy.
Yeah.
Kind of like whatever, mildly creative, but it seems like to me. It really started with Kanye and kind of like that whole Off-White.
Yeah, well, just like, it definitely started with rap music for sure. When you think about rap music and you think about all the references to fashion, like, dude, think about like when Biggie was rapping about these Coogee sweaters. You know the Coogee sweaters everyone loves.
Yeah.
He's rapping about that. Like those are like a high end sweater. It's like an expensive sweater. It's like a nice sweater brand. And he was rapping about that, and so like since the 90s, like they were rapping about that, and then you have a whole movement, with like ASAP and like how fashion oriented they are.
Yeah.
And now it's like, bro, everyone like you got Playboy Cardi wearing like Rick Owens and all that stuff. Like now it's so integrated, rap music and high fashion.
It's kind of like how
it's very integrated now.
It's kind of like how the NBA is integrated with fashion. How like I feel like it's such a big deal now what NBA players wear to games and like their intro kind of walk in into the stadium when they get that clip that gets put on ESPN of like what they're wearing. It could be sending a message. It could be whatever.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of like all sports now. I feel like we're seeing a lot with the NFL recently. We've definitely not seen that at all with baseball. Just because a bunch of just blokes out there playing baseball. Dude who don't care about fashion.
Bunch of blokes,
bro. But I feel like kind of like the cross between celebrityism and athletes, especially with the NFL and NBA, is blowing up with kind of like a fashion crossover in there. It seems like it's going that way. I've seen
well, I mean, and then that could just be like, bro, like this is like a new thing, like celebrities wearing high fashion, like high fashion being like a flex, and like if you're a celebrity, you're wearing high fashion typically. I feel like that's a normal thing. I just feel like the whole streetwear thing and high fashion, those combine because of rap music. I feel like, and that culture
makes sense,
and like kind of like merge the two. It's interesting, but I mean. With athletes, it's crazy how it is super like publicized.
Yeah,
like a lot of eyes on them.
I just think it's funny when you see those like the videos about.
Yeah, because probably wasn't always about that, dude. Like what was Michael Jordan pulling up to?
Right.
I mean, he was drippy, but it wasn't as like
it wasn't like
a big deal
because obviously we weren't alive at the time. But like it wasn't like when Joe Burrow blew up for the fur coat and the Cartier glasses.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like when that whole thing happened, or like
right.
I remember. Like back in the late 2010s, Russell Westbrook would pull up to games wearing
like crazy stuff, and people would have people wouldn't like it and stuff like that. No, it's definitely taken a different turn because like obviously you're gonna have you're gonna have events like the Oscars or something like that where it's like, oh well, this brand dressed this celebrity and like that's a big deal, right? Because that makes sense that makes sense, like the Met Gala, whatever, whoever's dressing these celebrities. 1,000%.
Right.
But it's interesting how it's like more correlated to the athletics. Probably wasn't always like that.
Yeah, I just think it's interesting.
It is definitely interesting.
And I feel like
change.
Some older athletes were like that. Like I feel like Deion Sanders was like that, and guys like that. But I feel like nowadays it's become way more standardized that athletes are into high fashion.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see what that cross looks like going forward, especially with vintage fashion, because I feel like with vintage there's kind of like this grit and grime element to it. You know, whether it's even with 90s rap tees and all over print tees, like all that kind of stuff. I feel like there is kind of like this grit and grime that gets kind of built into the shirt, and especially with true vintage, when we're finding, not us, but like when people who we source from find true vintage in bandos and I mean, there's going to be just years of grit and grime worn into the pieces. And so it's going to be interesting to see kind of brands replicate that. I mean, we're already kind of seeing it a little bit with brands like really implementing faux distressing into pieces. I feel like we've seen that a lot.
I mean, that's been around for a minute.
But I'd love to, not love to necessarily, but it's going to be interesting to see what that is like whenever they try to almost imitate that kind of that vintage grit and grime that gets. That's years of wear, years in the sun, years of being sweat in, years of being worn on people's skin, years of everything. Like that's going to be such a hard thing to replicate.
And that's going to be an interesting thing to be like, is that what the people want?
Right.
Do people want imitations of that, or do people want like the original? Like, no, I want the 1950s sweatshirt. Like, I want the original, and I'm willing to pay $1,000.
Right. I mean, and this brings up kind of an interesting segue because we've seen some bigger brands start branching into vintage a little bit. Like, I don't know if they got their start this way that well, but I feel like No Maintenance.
Oh yeah, but they did.
They started with vintage. Yeah. Okay, but I feel like it's interesting though. Like, I feel like I could be wrong, but I feel like I saw Elwood recently drop some vintage clothes, and it's just like
I think they do a vintage curation.
But it's just interesting to see like kind of these more not traditional or classic fashion brands, but just like kind of these other fashion brands start to kind of dip their hand in it. And wasn't there a high fashion brand that released a vintage like collection?
I think Aimé Leon Dore, they have a vintage curation, and I mean, they're inspired by vintage or whatever. Like, dude, everyone's inspired by vintage, but they had their own curation. I think I
want to say it was like YSL or something like that.
I don't know about
released
that.
Like a vintage curation. I don't really know. I think something like that, but it's going to be interesting.
I know Aimé Leon Dore did. I know they did. I know they had it, and it was low-key taxing, but it was like their curation of it, which is just interesting. And I'm pretty sure people bought it. People bought it because it's like under their thing, right? So like, and like you could definitely tell by looking at it. It's like, oh yeah, this is almost like this is like presented with the same attitude. This is the same exact products almost, but just not made by them, but just like curated by them. So I think that's interesting. Yeah, 100%, bro. It'll be big brand. Like that's a luxury brand. That's a big brand.
Or just imagine the day Louis Vuitton or YSL releases a vintage curation, and like it's these random.
I just imagine that'd be insane.
Yeah, it's whatever their curation is, but all of a sudden they've got their tags in it. And
yeah, bro. Imagine selling vintage to.
I know. Imagine like being a wholesale person to a major brand like that.
That'd be insane. You probably get cashed out, bro.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Like I would hope so. But like that would feel insane.
Because yeah, like dude, there is vintage pieces that are high fashion, bro. You think about like 1940s like Levi truckers jackets, like bro, those are like thousands of dollars depending on which one it is, bro. Like thousands and thousands of dollars.
Especially if you got the 1800s pair too that went for like what?
Yeah, bro. Well, the most recent one, they recently sold the oldest pair.
Yeah.
Vintage Festivals. They recently sold the oldest pair. It was like 100K. But then, bro, the reason why they bought that is because they wanted it because they're going to open an archive. And they just really wanted that. And I don't know how true this is, but I remember looking at the clip that Bitch just posted. They interviewed the guy who bought them. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, we would have spent 200K.
Wow. I mean, that's insane.
That's insane, bro. Just because you want them for your vintage archive, bro. Like,
I feel like at that point, it's like, pieces become kind of priceless,
right?
You know, it starts to get talked about. That
it starts happening like kind of what art does, bro. It's like, dude, the prices and the value is in the eye of the beholder, bro. Like, and it's not up to you, bro. It depends on how bad that person really wants it. You know, you got paintings selling for millions of dollars because
think about Picasso's and Monet's.
Because of how they make people feel, bro. Like, dude, that's So you kind of like start stepping into that, bro, which is definitely, it's just very interesting, bro. It's very weird, bro. To think about like clothes out of abandoned houses, like it's crazy.
Because abandoned houses are where you're gonna find stuff like that. You're gonna find the old archive pieces.
Right.
And like, I wonder if that becomes its own kind of like sect within vintage. Is the like archive pieces? You know, pieces that you're gonna hold on to and not sell.
Type you don't even wear, bro.
Right. That you would not fathom putting on.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot happening in vintage right now. Yeah. I feel like more people are going towards that true vintage stuff. Yeah. But then again, like in 3 years, is that going to be played out, bro?
I hope not.
I don't know. I hope not either, bro.
Yeah.
Like, what else are going to people be latching on to? Obviously, people like Y2K still. People like 90s still, even though it may be a little like played out. I think people like that because it's just so accessible. Like, there's so much vintage 90s stuff.
It's
so easy to get and obtain, and it's honestly like it's easy. Like, it's easy to wear. It's easy to buy. It's pretty straightforward, you know what I'm saying? And I think, like, there's always a certain point of that. There's always an aspect of that, like, just how easy that is.
Because it's also, like, not that old. You know, like, being 90s, it's only, 23 to, 33 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not as opposed to, like, 50 or 60 when you're looking at. 70s and 70s and 60s pieces. You know, I feel like that's when it gets into some like, okay, the doubling.
There's not too many of these around.
Really, when you double the age like that, I feel like it really reduces the amount of pieces that exist out there.
Definitely, bro. Definitely. And, so I don't know what'll happen in the next couple of years. I mean, vintage fashion is going to be around for a while. I think that's safe to say.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever. I mean, I remember when we first started, you told me that even back in the 50s, people were wearing vintage stuff of like. Yeah,
people in the 80s and the 90s were getting vintage, 50s. Bro. Yeah, like selling vintage clothes from like the 40s and 50s.
Right.
People have always been selling it, but But then you talk to those people, they'd be like, oh yeah, it's boomed, it's picked up like crazy.
Right.
For sure, 100%.
I'm sure they would probably kill to try to sell vintage in this heyday that we're in right now.
Yeah, for sure, because everyone really likes it. But it's really crazy when you think about stuff like that.
Yeah. But what you said about earlier with the Durango Vintage Festival, I feel like that's a really interesting sort of thing to kind of get into.
It's a very interesting thing to get into, bro. And like I said, so the True Vintage is crazy. That's mainly a True Vintage event because the guy who puts it on, Brit, he is crazy picker, got a bunch of stuff. Have you seen any interviews with him? Like, or if you've even met the guy, he's crazy, bro. And he has a bunch of stuff. So, and that event is really cool, bro. I just think it's very on trend almost, because now it's like, as the vintage scene blows up more, you kind of have.
It's kind of what we got into with the
other pop-up thing, like larger businesses just come in and take it not necessarily advantage, but like seize the opportunity and just kind of like, you know, swoop in, and then like it leaves kind of like the more smaller businesses, entrepreneurs, like maybe the people who have like better intentions kind of left behind.
Well, what it seems, at least from our experience, it seems like each area kind of has this egg that is like their vintage scene or their vintage, you know, the market for vintage clothes in their area, and it's something that I think a lot of areas and a lot of like small businesses and small entrepreneurs really nurture to get to a point where you can actually sell stuff. And I feel like, especially like coming from Charlotte, that was a place that didn't have anything major there.
Yeah,
we left Charlotte for real reasons, being that we didn't really think Charlotte was a great city for at least the
our curation, at least
for our curation especially. I feel like Charlotte being a big transplant city, that it resulted in a lot of sports vintage and a lot of stuff like that succeeding there.
Yeah.
But in terms of, you know, artsy, true vintage fashion, that's kind of where we reside, and it feels like we really struggled there. So we left for obvious reason, but regardless, it was always this kind of like this egg that we had to really work on trying to like nurture and like not overdo it, not strip too thin. Yeah. You know, and so it's this thing that like, I feel like this can be said about every area, that it's one of those things, and all of a sudden you have this nice little egg that is done well, that, you know, hasn't tarnished, that you've been polishing and really keeping nice, and you know, really you've been treating it well, and it's been treating you well, and then all of a sudden it just takes one massive, you know, event or a month of 8 events in a row in a city, and then all of a sudden like that golden egg that you had is all tarnished and it's gross, and it's going to take a lot of repair and a lot of time of healing and whatever to just kind of remotely get back to where it was. And I just feel like it's an interesting morality debate, you know.
For sure. Yeah. So you got these big businesses coming in, larger events, yada yada yada, all this stuff. So that's why Vintage Festivus is so cool, because it really is for the people who maybe feel like that, and really just for like people who are just like really just enjoy it, you know. And this could probably be said about so many different communities, right? It starts small, starts with like people who really enjoy it, and then it blows up, gets a lot of traction. It's like when you like a low-key artist on like Spotify or whatever, and like not a lot of people know about them, but then they like have this one song that blows up, and it's just like, yeah, you're happy for him because it's like, oh yeah, I love this guy, but then like millions of other people now know it, and you got the sped up version on TikTok of it, and then it's like, bro, so annoying to people.
Well, that's what happened with Willow, is when like, you know, the song that has the Caught a Vibe line in it. I remember listening to that song like for a year before it blew up on TikTok. Yeah. A year before that album went nuts. And then like I remember, because I mean we're decent fans of Willow, and like I remember listening to it when it first came out, whatever, and it was a great song, whatever. And then all of a sudden it just like blew up, TikTok just like grabbed it and made it its own, and now it's like I hear that song and I just like die inside when I listen to it.
Exactly, bro. So I feel like that's kind of the same thing happened to the vintage scene. But then now you have this festival being put on that is kind of like back for those like the OGs, I guess, if you will, like the OG fans, like the first fans almost.
What did you say? It was like the Durango Vintage Festivus for the rest of us.
Yeah. That's what they kept calling it. To kind of play at like, oh, like for all of us that, you know, aren't super, you know, big businessy, whether it's like by choice or not by choice, whether they got pushed out, whether they, you know, whatever the reason is, like this is for all of them. This is for like the community basically. So yeah, I think that's really cool, bro, because I know a couple people who went. It would be cool to go. I mean, honestly, bro, I mean, if the cash flow was right, bro, like, dude, I would totally pick in that pile, bro.
Dude, could you imagine picking that pile? I mean, how much does that slot cost?
A decent a bit, though.
Really?
Yeah.
Like how much?
Well, because I don't know if you saw the interview that I have a buddy that I used to go to the bins with. His name is Alex, Monday Market Vintage on Instagram. But he did the pile. He did it. I don't know how much he paid. I forgot how much he paid, but something crazy. Something like $4,500 or something. Maybe not that much. Maybe it was a little less. But he paid something crazy. But in his interview, he talked about it because he got interviewed. And he was like, yeah, like, I would not do that again. He was like, that was extremely risky. He's like, typically I don't gamble like that. But he was like, that was extremely risky. Like, I don't know if I would do that again. And he's like he didn't make him feel necessarily good. He's like, luckily he hit because he got the buckle backs. He got a crazy pair of like 40s, 50s like buckle back Levi's, and those like low key make his money back.
Really, those were like 45. Like
yeah,
$4,000.
But then again, I will say, knowing him, I don't know what he's up to now. Alex, I don't know what you're up to now if you're watching this, bro. But I know he was big into wholesaling. So maybe if he had all this stuff and he's still planning on wholesaling it, yeah, like I can understand how it's like not going to be super profitable.
Right.
But for us,
when you how much
if
time
we're
do you have
in retail, like we get a bunch of stuff. I mean, if you see how much stuff he got, dude. I mean, he went beast mode, bro. But still, like, see how much stuff he got? Like, I mean, just.
How much time do you have to grab stuff when you're pulling from that pile?
I want to say anywhere between like 60 seconds to 2 minutes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like that's low-key not a lot of time.
No, it's not.
I thought it was like 5 minutes.
No.
I was like, dude, 5 minutes, bro?
No, and the pile's huge,
move
bro.
Almost that whole pile, I feel like.
In 5 minutes, yeah.
It's a stretch, but like.
Yeah. It's a stretch. Yeah, but no, I understand, dude. Yeah, and I also feel like it's one of those things where it's like it looks easier than it probably is. Like you probably get gas after a while.
Oh, dude.
Or like after like 15 seconds of going hard.
Well, maybe. I also
your
feel like
adrenaline's
the whole
up.
time your adrenaline is just spiked. So like you're on a different planet for.
Yeah, because in my head it's like, okay, you paid this amount of money, bro. Like I'm grabbing everything I can get, bro.
Oh, dude. I mean, I'm like jumping into that pile face first, grabbing stuff with my teeth.
Dude, everything, bro.
After.
Like literally everything. Yeah. So like yeah, they did like the first slot, and then they would auction off another slot. But also the thing about it is it's all auction. So probably the first one is probably the best one, the best deal. Now it's like the more and more they do is like when they get more and more popular, people want to bid more and more for those spots.
Yeah,
so it's like it's kind of like you have to kind of every scenario is going to be different in where the spots are going for. So they did like the first spot, the second spot, and then they did whatever's left at the end. They did like a $10 by the pound sale of like everyone could just go in there and pick through it and try to find good stuff that they want to spend $10 a pound on. So they like wiped it out eventually. But yeah, those people who took the gamble, like yeah, that could really pay off because there was good items in there. Yeah. But yeah, that event is just so cool because it's not only just like selling.
I also feel like isn't it a multi-day event too?
Multi-day event. So there's like activities going on. Like there's like fun activities happening.
It's like an actual event.
It's literally for the community to like come there and like chill and like just be with each other.
Right. It's not just like hey, come to this pop-up and come.
Right. We're gonna make so much money. Like no, bro. Like they ain't really about that. So like that's really cool. That's really cool. That's been getting a lot of buzz. That's been going around. People have just been seeing that who aren't even in the vintage community. Being like, what is this? You know?
Right.
I mean, I remember in school I did a whole presentation on like the jeans that Golden State Vintage bought. I did a presentation because I had a business class and I was like, I don't know what we had to do. Some like a news headline about business. So I related to fashion and I said that.
It was really random.
It was very random, but it just happened. I was like, oh, I'll just talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like that's a cool event.
Bro, did you see the Indiana Jones shirt that was maybe found?
Oh yeah, they see what Business posted, bro. Shout out to Business, bro, because
great little news source. I mean,
yeah, bro, super tight, dude.
Such a niche.
Such a niche, bro. Such a niche. Yeah, like that was so needed. I feel like just someone to like spread the news of like the vintage community because there's a lot happening. There's a lot that happens.
Also, just there's so much that happens. It's hard to you're
stay on top of
in
everything.
the know or you're not. And by in the know doesn't it's not like the same people are always in the know. I feel like it's super regional. Like if you're in the know for the Southeast, then like you would know something that happened in the Southeast. But like if you're not in the know for whatever,
like I don't know what's going on in
California,
in like Southern California.
No idea.
I don't know what's going on.
No idea.
So yeah, that's why it's good to know. But yeah, dude, the missing $300,000 Indiana Jones shirt found at thrift store.
That's insane.
And I mean, like, yeah, bro, like the pictures literally look the exact same. You probably can't see it. But like, yeah, it looks the exact same. But I mean, dude, 300,000. I mean, that's borderline not even like a vintage piece. I mean, yeah, it's a vintage clothing piece, but it's like almost like movie memorabilia almost.
Yes. And so I think it skates
like a legendary movie.
It skates those two categories really weirdly of like
it's
vintage fashion for sure because it was what supposedly what Harrison Ford wore in that movie, but the other part of it is it's like you said, it's movie memorabilia, and I feel like there's a whole separate market for historical movie memorabilia that not really like that's just a completely different market than the people who buy vintage clothing. So
yeah, you are kind of tapping into a different market.
It feels like a funny crossover.
Yeah, because think about the people who would buy like crazy like Star Wars memorabilia.
Yeah.
And like that's kind of the same audience as like Indiana Jones. So yeah, it has like this weird crossover. But yeah, that's wild, bro.
Yeah, I don't get it.
I don't know, bro. I mean, I can't imagine like a vintage person buying that.
No, I feel like it would
be like some crazy collector in like a museum type.
Right. Also just like the person who did find that, like, how do you even begin to identify that? Oh, that looks like what Indiana Jones wore.
Yeah, what in the world, bro?
Yeah, it feels very.
Dude, I feel like that had to be so lucky, almost.
Yeah, I mean that's like
I mean, unless you're like just love Indiana Jones or recently seen Indiana Jones, yeah, I think that's got to be lucky, dude. If I saw that, I would pass up on that.
Yeah, I feel like most
people would, bro. It looks like a normal just shirt with like some cool detailing on the front, but like nothing crazy.
I feel like that's like lessen the chances of winning the lottery. Like to be able to like see that, identify that, and even find it. It's like
well, then like, even like selling those things can be difficult too.
Yeah, I mean,
it's like sure you found something valuable, but like who the hell's gonna buy it?
Yeah, who's gonna buy a $300,000 Harrison Ford Indiana Jones shirt?
Right. I don't know, and that's the thing. Like, how are they even pricing it? Does someone bid that? Does someone auction that? Like, I don't know how they can even come up with that number.
Yeah, that feels really random.
It feels very random, but I mean, I'm sure they have a reason. Yeah, I don't know. Do we have anything to talk about?
I think that's...
If y'all have questions, man, comment them. I forgot to put a poll up. And that's why it's like, dude, comment. Like, just comment a question.
Yes. Just literally on the YouTube videos, just comment.
Comment a question. Or if you want to DM us, bro, DM us. Or on the Instagram Reels that we do post from the podcast.
Just say random questions.
Random questions that you want to talk about. Random talk. Dude, we'll talk about anything, bro. Dude, you could ask us like the craziest question ever.
Right.
We'll talk about anything.
We'll address it. We'll talk about it.
Bro, 1,000%, dude.
Figure it out. But do we have any questions? Anything at all?
No, I don't think so. But, yeah, I think that's about it. Like I said, the drop is available now. Go shop Vintage. I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Hope you get some more guests on here soon, too. I got a couple people in mind that I want to hit up. But if you know anybody, like, in the Atlanta area, or if you're watching this and you want to be on it, bro, literally, we'll have you. Slide through. Like, dude,
let us know.
Dude, who cares, bro? Like, dude, we'll talk to everybody, bro. Like, who cares, dude? So, all right, guys. So that does it. Thank you guys for watching this episode. We appreciate the support.
Appreciate it so much.
Like I said, drops going up all the time. Go look at the website. Go buy vintage clothes. That's why we really do this, to sell you guys vintage clothes. So go take a look. We got a bunch of stuff coming up, but appreciate you guys tuning in.